Welcome to our Uni-Vibe series.
In this series, we're going to share with you Uni-Vibes from some of our favorite manufacturers.
And maybe we'll figure out, does the drive go before or after a vibe? On today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to take a look at a pedal. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel. Click on the notification bell. Your interaction with us helps us interact with great people in the industry. And in this case, we went to Zzounds and we got in the JHS Unicorn V2 Uni-Vibe pedal as part of our Uni-Vibe series. And of course, right, because we have to.
Right, yeah.
So the Beard's going to tell you how we're going to approach this. And
yeah, so in this series, we've been doing kind of the same thing. We'll get into that in 1 second. There's a video, if you go out to the webpage, so www.pjandthebeardguitars.com, and you go to Uni-Vibe series at the top, there's a video with Josh Scott on Uni-Vibes and the history of Uni-Vibes. And ever since we've done that video, I see in people's when they talk about their Uni-Vibe pedal online, they're always talking about the story of the Uni-Vibe and how it was designed to be a Leslie, but didn't sound like a Leslie. And Josh, he doesn't believe that story. Right. He has a whole nother story. So that's a cool video to go watch. And I think if memory serves, we dropped in like this little image of a unicorn all over the place just because. Anyway, little hidden Easter egg unicorns all over that video. But anyway, check that out. So let's jump into the pedal. This is JHS's version of a Uni-Vibe. They have done this pretty true to form. It has the photocell in it. It's built like an original Uni-Vibe. The thing that they've done differently is they've given you a tap tempo. They've given you a knob with subdivisions for that tap tempo. And they've given you an expression pedal in jack. And I think you can even do like an external tap. So if you're running like a disaster area clock on your board for tap tempo for all your pedals, you could run over to that expression pedal jack too and control your tempo there. So that's pretty cool. Anything to add to all this?
No, like tap tempo. I experienced my first tremolo tap tempo here, and now I'm experiencing my first tap tempo
Uni-Vibe. So let's jump into it. The first riff, every Uni-Vibe video we've been doing, I've been playing this first riff, trying to dial it in and take it for a spin. So here's what that sounds like on the Fender American Strat.
So not to be left out of the clean S-style game, I grabbed the Silver Sky SE. And just so you know, everything you hear tonight is going through the Tyler JT22, and any delay you hear is the Echo Tour from DLS Effects. And so I had it on the dry side, and I just made it as very throbby and swirly.
there's the first 2 clips we have for you. We have 2 more clips coming up that get a little more distorted, fuzzy, whatever you want to call it, in a minute. Before we do that, we wanted to jump into controls and maybe run some knobs for you. So, pretty standard on a Uni-Vibe would be a depth and a speed control, and the Unicorn has that. Mm-hmm. It also, though, has a volume control, which a lot of times in things like modulations, like Uni-Vibe, tremolo, chorus, you get that perceived volume knob. So having the ability to maybe boost that a little bit with a volume knob on the pedal is really cool. And then, you know, the thing that the Unicorn does that I don't know that I've ever seen on another Uni-Vibe thus far is not just the tap tempo, but then having the subdivision knob on there too. That's pretty unique, I think. This pedal also has. Did I mention already that it has the expression pedal? Mm-hmm. All right. So you also have an expression pedal jack. That expression pedal jack can also serve as an external tap tempo. So if you're running off something else with external tap tempo, you can do that too. So I think we start with maybe the speed knob. I'm gonna turn the speed knob all the way down. It's always fun to do that, and let Pat play a little bit, and then we'll roll that around. And that fast gets fast, but it doesn't get like hummingbird fast.
Right.
It's pretty good. Let's do the tap before we move on to the depth. Let's do the tap tempo real quick. I'm going to tap a tempo in, and then I'm going to roll the knob around for the subdivisions, just so you can hear them. So you're gonna get a quarter note subdivision, then you're going to get a dotted eighth subdivision, then you're going to get an eighth note, and then you're going to get a triplet if memory serves. Let's tap that in about like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of slow, so you'll be able to hear the subdivisions. So, subdivisions, and then the only thing we
didn't do depth yet.
Have left is depth. I'll turn that all the way down, then roll that around as you play too. All right. So, if you're like me, you've come to watch this video for one specific feature, and I've ignored it the whole time, and I'm sitting there just like, what about the little switch in the middle? Yeah, in the middle, there's a little switch there. So that is labeled dry and wet. Dry is if you look at an original Uni-Vibe, you have a chorus and you have a vibrato, which doesn't make a lot of sense when you first get into Uni-Vibes. You're like, I want a Uni-Vibe for the vibrato.
Chorus, yes. Right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. So the chorus sound has the dry sound of the guitar in, When you go to the vibrato sound, you take the dry sound of the guitar out, so you just get the vibrato. So they're saying wet is just the vibrato, no dry signal, of course, is what we've been using this whole time. I say we leave it set where we had it when Pat just got done playing, and I'm just going to flip that switch and do nothing else but let him play a little bit. Maybe I'll flip back and forth a couple times.
Very pronounced.
Yeah, it's cool. Getting back into clips, did we miss anything?
I don't think so. Expression pedal.
Right.
Mentioned it.
Yeah, let's mention
It's coming
that
up.
now. So getting back into clips, I have the EP1 expression pedal. We did plug that into the Unicorn. We use this fancy dancy TRS cable from Rattlesnake Cable Company. We got that with the Shakedown Sound Series. It's very cool. Anyway, plug that in. I did this next clip, I believe, on the vibrato side. We had a high speed, fairly high intensity. We were kind of trying to see if we could get that Leslie sound out of it. Even though the video says the story's not true, a lot of people do say, hey, it's supposed to sound like a Leslie. So we tried to do that, more so we could show the expression pedal in use. You can't see it, it's on the floor, but you will hear it go from kind of the fastest setting to a much slower setting in the middle and then back up to fast. And here's that clip.
Okay, so for my next clip, I wanted to put a little drive with the Vibe pedal. I went and grabbed the Gibson SG Junior. I used the single dog-eared P90 for this, and I used the Keeley Blues Disorder with the hybrid setting of the OCD EQ side, the Bluesbreaker drive side, paired it with the Unicorn on the dry side, and played this. Clip, I grabbed this 1999 American Deluxe. This is the first electric I ever bought. My wife hates the color, although she did bag it up and bring it to me the other day when I thought I needed it. So had to love her for that. And plugged that into the Unicorn, and from the Unicorn into the Exacta Fuzz from David Barber over at Barber Electronics. And of course, the Echo Tour, and then the Tower there too. So
Here's what that sounded like. So that's the clips we have for tonight on the Unicorn from JHS Pedals. Final thoughts.
How many more times can I say I'm not a vibe guy when we're doing a vibe series? I will have to tell you that I don't have necessarily a complete sound in my head when I think about a vibe or try to dial up a vibe. I wouldn't know how to do that to get you that atypical Hendrix or Stevie Ray or whatever. So I just approach it in twist knobs till I get what I like out of it, which a lot of times is a blend between a chorus and a tremolo, which is what I like. But I found some nice sounds in here. I do like the tap tempo when we were trying to figure out what I wanted to play. It made it so much easier if you changed directions that you could just tap it in instead of just futzing around with the speed. I thought that really was more helpful than I thought it was going to be. So, I mean, I liked it. I mean, it's JHS. I mean, they make great stuff, and I didn't find it hard to make it, had to have a good sound out of it, for lack of a better explanation. That was, what a rousing review of that.
So, yeah, for me, you know, I was saying to Pat earlier, I find it, like, sometimes I find it harder with some of the ones that are so true to the original kind of thing. How to say this? Like, there's no... At one point, Pat was like, well, what tone shaping do you have on that? None. Right? Like, so you got to shape what's around it and stuff like that. It is pretty true. Some of the other ones that we have that are supposed to be kind of modeled after that original Uni-Vibe, the Uni-Vibe or whatever, I think it really has that kind of sound to it. Sometimes I find that a little more difficult, but that's the nature of the beast, you know? Like, they're doing something cool. I actually like the wet setting on this too, the vibrato setting. Sometimes on the Uni-Vibes, I feel like I don't like the vibrato setting. It gets a little whatever. Use one of your words, wackadoodle. I think it sounds good, that Leslie kind of sound clip. It's just the riff from the Leslie Sound series. I thought it sounded good with that. I thought that sounded good. The subdivisions, I'm with Pat. I was kind of like, well, why is that? And then we, when we went to use it was pretty cool. Sometimes I like the out of time vibe with what you're playing, because that does that, the way it pushes and pulls sounds cool. But sometimes, like what you're playing, to just drop it right in there, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty sweet. And certainly expression pedal and tap. So external tap or expression pedal on the side there, that's really cool too. I'm sorry, there's a dog hair on here. It's been driving me crazy. I've tried 3 times to get it off, like without calling out attention to it. So, yeah, I think it's great. Nice, viable option. A great pedal to add to the Vibe series. JHS Unicorn. Go find out why unicorns are so rare in that other video. Yes, do that. So, with that, always take a minute to say thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Anytime you leave a comment, any of that stuff, when you interact with the show, that's what lets us interact with cool people like JHS, who we've interacted with a lot in the past, but this weddle came from Zzounds this time. And so we really appreciate it. It helps us bring cool gear to share with you. With that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.